the issues, paint a rising nation.
Actually, yeah, what's so fascinating, just to pick up on Peggy's point, when I talked to President-elect Trump, I asked him, what is the theme of your inaugural address going to be? And he said, unity. Do you think he can strike a tone of unity? He said he was going to do that during his convention address. Part of it did, but certainly then we veered into a bit of campaign rhetoric. What will you be watching for?
Well, I mean, I don't think he can strike a tone of unity as much as I think he would want to. The reality, though, is his first steps is, all we have to do is sort of refer back to what he says he's going to do on day one. He's going to deport millions of people. He's going to pardon those that initiated a deadly attack on the Capitol, the most egregious attack on American democracy. All of those things don't speak to unity and trying to unify the nation. So I think he's going to have a hard time doing this. I just don't think it's in his DNA. I think his DNA is to be an obstructionist. I think his DNA is carnage. I think that is how he won. He leaned into it in the last election, and it proved to be a winner for him. So I think the one thing we know about Donald Trump is he's a creature of habit, and I think he's going to lean on what he's always done.
Ryan, Lindsey Graham did actually signal today there could be some pushback to some of what President-elect Trump has said. He was very clear no when I asked him, should President-elect Trump, his administration, jail the January 6th committee members?
Right, but that's not something that the U.S. Senate can stop him from doing, right?
True.
He enforces the same thing with the pardoning the January 6th defendants.
Yep.
So we do have to look for these opportunities that the Senate has to be a co-equal branch of government and push back on maybe the most radical things that Donald Trump wants to do. I think the first showdown could potentially be this idea of a recess appointment. This is really in the control of the Congress, whether or not they allow a recess appointment to happen. It's not something he can just do unilaterally. I'm told that it remains a tool in the toolbox, that if Republicans feel that Democrats are the ones standing in the way of a nominee that could potentially have the votes. But ultimately, with 53 votes, Republicans are going to determine whether or not these nominees make it through the confirmation process. And if Trump doesn't have the votes and then pushes them to go the recess appointment route, which opens up a Pandora's box down the road, that could be the indication to us whether or not they're going to roll over every single time he challenges them, or whether or not they're actually going to stand up to him when they think it's necessary.
I'm going to give us the final thought on this and on, is there any hope that something could get done in a bipartisan fashion, like what Senator Sanders said, getting something on the minimum wage, for example?
There could be a path ahead for a few of those issues. I think Dreamers, for example, there's always been bipartisan support, and there's been indication from both parties I talked to. I think we're going to know a lot about how President Trump's next term will go within the first 24 hours. A lot of those day one actions, we'll see how far he's willing to go. In the past, he's really pushed the envelope and had to dial it back then based on the way the public has reacted or based on what the law has said, the courts have said. We'll learn a lot in those first days. Sources have already told us they expect tens of executive orders in the first week alone. Sources tell me those are already written and ready to go. I'm watching immigration very, very closely. We know that Trump is very, very susceptible to public perception. He told you that in the interview as well. That's where I'm watching most closely.
All right. Great conversation. Thank you all for being here. That is all for today. Thank you.